Hello everyone, and welcome to Quiz and Hers, the podcast where we test each other's knowledge and the strength of our relationship. My name is Hallie, and I'm here with my fiance, Justin.
Hello.
Hello. And this is how the podcast works for anyone who hasn't listened before. That was a weird transition.
Yeah.
I forgot what to say briefly. Anyway, the way this podcast works is each week we take turns writing 6 trivia questions from 6 different categories that are tied together with a common theme. The 6 categories are sounds and screens, arts and literature, times and places, sports and games, science, and everything else.
Yep.
And like I said, they're tied together with a common theme. And then we talk for a few minutes about each of the answers to hopefully learn a little bit more and do a little better in the trivia that we all play.
That's right. Be it Jeopardy or Pub Quiz or whatever your trivia vice might be, or maybe all of them if you're us.
Yeah, all of them. All right. I think I covered all the bases there.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Are you ready for today's theme?
I'm ready.
I call this theme The Quest to Quell the Quirkiest Quizzing Quandaries.
Wow. Okay.
I'm so proud of that title.
That's a great title. I don't know what it means.
It's all just about things that start with the letter Q.
Fuck!
What?
Nothing. I was going to do something like that next week.
Oh no.
It's fine. I'll just have to swap it out for something else.
Sorry. No, that's why I got nervous last week, and I said to my mom, I was like, can you make sure Justin's not writing the same theme as me? I don't know why, had a feeling that, but I was right.
Well,
sort of.
No, because it was for the next.
Well, I mean, it's
game.
Good thing that it was for the next game, but I just had some feeling that you were
writing
on a similar track for some reason.
A wordplay kind of a theme.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I'll swap it out for something else.
Oh, good thing you have so many backup plans.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
So every answer starts with Q?
No, not every answer.
Oh, okay.
It's just part of some questions, and then some of the answers start with Q.
I see. Okay.
It's just all about things that start with Q. It's
okay.
not actually the first letter of all the answers. That would make it too easy.
Okay.
All right. So the first question is everything else. As many Scrabble fans know, the word qi, spelled Qi, is a life force that is the basis of much of Chinese philosophy and medicine. What is the name of the early 2nd century Chinese dictionary from the Han Dynasty, which is the first Chinese dictionary of characters and which notes that the character for qi is a pictographic character depicting cloudy vapors?
That was a very long question.
I know, I was trying to give you more hints, but you'll never get it. I'm sure you won't get it.
What's the first... What category is this?
Everything else.
Oh, language. Okay.
Yeah, it's
What's the first Chinese dictionary?
Yeah, basically, it's the early 2nd century Chinese dictionary. It's the first Chinese dictionary of characters, specifically. I don't know. There's a lot of this I didn't know. It's very interesting.
Okay. What is it?
It's called the Showen Jezi. I hope I'm pronouncing it right.
Okay. Never heard of that.
Yeah, I never heard of it either. It's really interesting.
Okay.
So, anyway, Showen...
Oh, we should say I'm down 4-1 right now, so I really need to get some correct answers
Didn't
today.
you say that already?
No.
I swear you said that.
No.
All right. Yeah, so Justin will need 3 answers to catch up.
Yeah.
But I knew you wouldn't get that one.
Yeah, that's very hard. Okay.
Yeah. So, Showen Jezi literally translates to explaining graphs and analyzing characters. Like I said, it was created in the 2nd century during the Han Dynasty. It was compiled by Xu Shen, I think that's how you pronounce it, who is a Han Dynasty scholar of the 5 classics, which are the authoritative books of Confucianism.
Mm-hmm.
His goal with the Showen Jezi was to disambiguate the meanings of the classics prior to the Han Dynasty so that they could be used by the government. According to historians, the reason Shen created this was less from an interest in linguistics and more because of political and pragmatic motives. At the time, people believed in Confucius's rectification of the names, which means that using the correct names for things is essential for proper government. Shen finished it in the year 100, but waited until 121 to present it to the emperor because there was an unfavorable attitude towards scholarship by the royal family at the time.
Okay.
So, pretty interesting origin.
Yeah.
So, even though it was not the first comprehensive Chinese character dictionary, that was the Area, which was created in the 3rd century BCE, it was the first to analyze the structures of the characters and give the rationale behind them. Previous dictionaries like the Arya and also the Fangyan were limited lists of synonyms that were loosely categorized into semantic categories. This made it difficult to look up certain characters that you want, say you just wanted to look up a character, how would you find it?
Right.
So the Shoen Jezi, however, organized characters by their shared graphic components, which was helpful for understanding the Chinese writing system. It was also the first to use the organization by sections with shared components called radicals, which I'll explain.
Okay.
So radicals are basically section headers, and they're still used in Chinese dictionaries today. They are usually semantic indicators, meaning that they denote the meaning of the following character. There's more.
Okay.
So the type of characters analyzed in the Shoen Jezi are called seal script, S-E-A-L.
Mm-hmm.
Seal script evolved from the Zhou dynasty and was standardized during the Qin dynasty. The Shoen Jezi consists of 15 chapters. The first 14 chapters are the characters, and the 15th chapter is the postface and an index of the section headers, which I mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
The original version contained 9,353 character entries and 1,163 graphic variants, with a total of 133,441 characters.
Wow.
Yeah. There are 540 section headers, which equals 6 times 9 times 10. And this is symbolic because 6 and 9 symbolize yin and yang, and 10 symbolizes the number of the heavenly stems, which were the 10 days of the week at the time.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's all symbols.
Right. Cool.
Yeah. And unlike modern Chinese dictionaries, which try to maximize the number of characters under each header, the Shoen Jezi had 34 headers with no characters and 159 headers with just one character each. So like nowadays, they try to condense them into fewer headers.
Right.
In the dictionary, each character entry is comprised of a seal graph, a short definition that is usually a synonym, a pronunciation based on a homophone, and an analysis of compound characters into phonetic and or semantic parts. The title Shoen Jezi refers to two types of characters, wen and zi. Wen is just composed of one graphic element, while zi has more than one element and can be broken down into its component graphics, which can be analyzed separately. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So it's like two symbols superimposed.
Right, okay.
And in fact, the character for the word wen is only one graphic element, while the character for zi is two characters combined.
Makes sense.
So meta.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. So Shoen Jezi, back to the beginning, directly translates to commenting on the wen and analyzing the zi, because only the zi can be broken down and further analyzed.
Right.
And lastly, fun fact, today there is an educational TV show in China called Shoen Jezi.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So remember the other day when I was like, I feel like I could fall down a rabbit hole of learning something new, and you were like, just do it. And I was like, it's too much. It was Chinese writing.
Oh, okay.
I can't.
Yeah.
That's a big endeavor.
Yeah, definitely.
To just like start learning Chinese on my own.
Yes.
But yeah, it was really interesting.
I tried to learn Japanese once in high school. It didn't go well.
Yeah, you told me that. I wonder which is easier. I think Korean's the easiest one.
I've heard that, yeah.
Because it has an actual alphabet. It's not
graphic.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway.
Okay. All right.
Ready for question 2?
Yep.
All right. It sounds and screens. What TV show first premiered on Bravo in July 2003, starring Kean Douglas, Carson Kressley, Ted Allen, Tom Felicia, and Jay Rodriguez, and was rebooted by Netflix in 2018 with 5 different men?
The only reason I know this is Ted Allen, but Queer Eye for the Straight Guy.
Yeah. I was like, if Ted Allen wasn't one of them, you never would have gotten that.
I don't think so, no.
Justin likes his Food Network.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I didn't actually talk about that.
Okay.
Talk about Ted Allen's, but very specifically, but he hosts Chopped, and he's great.
Yep.
So, Queer Eye for the Straight Guy premiered in 2003 on Bravo, like I said, and the name was changed to Queer Eye at the beginning of the 3rd season because it wasn't just for straight guys. They had other people.
Okay.
It was created by executive producers David Collins and Michael Williams, along with David Metzler, with their production company Scout Productions. Bravo approved the show after the ratings success they had when they showed a marathon of the 2002 series Gay Weddings at the same time as the Super Bowl in January 2003.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess that increased their confidence in this.
Yeah, alright.
So the premise of the show is stereotypical gay men as experts in fashion, style, personal grooming, interior design, and culture. The 5 men, known as the Fab Five, do a makeover in each episode, which they call a make better. And anyway, it's usually for straight men, but sometimes, they've also had episodes with gay men, women, etc. Transgender men.
They can feel smugly superior to people of all different stripes.
Yeah, that's basically the point.
Ugh.
So, each of the Fab Five had their own expertise. Ted Allen, who I mentioned is the host of Chopped now, was the food and wine connoisseur. Keon Douglas was the grooming guru. That's what they called him. And he focused on hair, personal hygiene, and makeup.
I hate this.
I know you do. I kind of want to watch it after reading this. Tom Felicia was the, quote, design doctor who focused on interior design. I'm sorry. Justin's face right now. This could be useful information to you.
Yep.
You never know. Okay.
Sounds fucking terrible.
Carson Kressley was the fashion savant, and Jai Rodriguez, or maybe it's Jay, I don't know, it's Jai. I don't know. Jay Rodriguez was the culture vulture, who is an expert in pop culture, relationships, and social interactions. The first episode, filmed in Boston in 2002, featured Ted Allen and Carson Kressley with 3 other men who didn't last. I don't know why they changed it. And then
pilot, you always change stuff from pilot to series.
Yep. And then Keon Douglas and Tom Felicia joined with Blair Boone as the culture guy, who was then replaced by Jay Rodriguez after 2 episodes. So most of the episodes of the show start with the Fab Five in an SUV in New York City talking about the person whom they will be making over in the episode. And they talk about the areas in which the person needs improvement. And usually in each episode, they're like preparing them for some sort of fancy event. Apparently there's an episode where he's going to propose to his girlfriend later that day. So then they go to the person's home and go through all their personal belongings. And they talk with them and their family members about like how they want to improve themselves, I guess. And then they take them shopping for new furniture and clothes. And Keon takes them for a new haircut, and Ted usually teaches them how to prepare a certain dish. Useful, I guess. That seems like the most useful part.
By far, yes.
But like in terms of like the immediacy of the show, it probably doesn't have like, it's not like as visual.
Yeah. Well,
but anyway.
I just want to say that to any of our listeners, no matter what you wear or what kind of furniture you have, you're perfectly fine just the way you are. Fuck this show.
I think it's amusing.
Ugh.
It's not saying that you have to be better. It's just saying if you want to change, they'll help you change.
Yeah, be yourself. You're fine.
You're
totally perfect, just the way you are.
Unless who you are is someone who wants to be advised by 5 gamers.
Yeah, don't be that.
I don't know. It sounds fun to me. I'd probably enjoy it. Anyway. So each part of the 5 things involves like a general style tip, which they show on the screen, because like viewers at home can learn from it too. And then, the best part is that the Fab Five goes with them to whatever event they're preparing them for and perform a running commentary. I really want to watch this. It just sounds funny. In addition to New York, they had some special episodes in England, Texas, and Vegas, and there were 2 episodes where they made over gay men and 1 where they made over a transgender man. They did makeovers of the Boston Red Sox players after their 2004 World Series win. I know, it's weird. And in the last season, they had a Mr. Straight Guy pageant featuring people who have been on the show previously. After it premiered, it became a surprise success, leading to merchandise, an international franchise, and a woman-oriented spin-off called Queer Eye for the Straight Girl. In September 2003, they hit a record of 3.34 million viewers per episode. And in 2004, it won the Emmy for Outstanding Reality Program. But in June 2006, they ended production and the last episode aired on October 30th, 2007. And then in 2017, Netflix ordered 8 episodes of the show with a new Fab Five. If you're wondering, their names are Anthony Porowski, he does the food and wine. Jonathan Van Ness does the grooming. Bobby Burke is the design guy. Tan France is the fashion guy. And Karamo Brown is the culture guy. And the new series has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, and in July 2018, it was renewed for a 3rd season, which will premiere sometime in 2019. And I'm very curious now. I feel like it could go either way. Like, I could really love it or really hate it. I'm not sure.
I would hate all of that.
I know. It's not your thing.
No.
But anyway.
Okay.
Now you know.
Great.
Sometimes you have to learn things that you don't want to.
I know. That is definitely true.
Yeah. Just like me with all of history.
Yep. Which you need to learn.
I'm trying.
All of history is what I mean.
Okay, speaking of history.
Okay.
Times and places.
All right.
What Q word, Arabic for commander, was a title in the Norman kingdom of Sicily applied to Palatine did I say that right? Palatine officials and members of the Curia. I can read it again if you want.
Quaestor.
What?
Quaestor.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
What is it?
It's Cade.
Okay.
Qaid. Should I look up this Quaestor word?
Quaestor was a position in Rome.
No, I'm curious. How do you spell it?
Quaester, I think.
Oh. Yeah, it's not the same. That was an official in ancient Rome
Yeah.
who had the charge of public revenue and expenditure. Well, that would have been a good question too, but that was not the question, sorry.
Okay.
Anyway, it's Cade.
Right.
Qaid. It can also be spelled Caid or Kaid.
Never heard that.
Yeah, so...
It's Arabic, did you say?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Then I guess it wouldn't have been Quaestor, would it?
No, sorry.
Alright.
I'm surprised. Well, I'm not that surprised. It's kind of hard. Anyway. Cades were usually Muslims or converts from Islam. The Latin word for Cade is, I don't know how to pronounce this, Gaitus, I guess. Gaitus, with a G.
Mm-hmm.
Later on, the word was used in North Africa for the warden of a prison or governor of a fortress. At this time, it was also used in Spain and Portugal and was pronounced al-Cade. Nowadays, it can also be a male Arabic name. So now I'm going to talk about some notable Cades.
Okay.
First, we have Thomas Brun, aka Brown, who was either the son or nephew of William Brun, who was a clerk of Henry I of England in the early 1100s. As a child, Thomas traveled to Sicily with Robert of Selby, who was I never know how to say this word. Courtier? Sure. A courtier of Roger II, who was the king of Sicily, that succeeded in uniting all the Norman conquests in Italy into one kingdom with a centralized government. I didn't really know much about this.
Mm-hmm.
It is believed that Thomas Brun drafted the foundation charter of the Cappella Palatina, which was the royal chapel of the Norman kings in Sicily. After Roger II died and his son William I took the throne, Thomas Brun was removed from office and he moved back to England, where he became the almoner for Henry II. Do you know what an almoner is? I just learned this. It's a church officer who distributes money to the poor. Like, you know when they say alms for the poor? Yeah. He's the one that deals with that.
Oh, interesting. So wait, what does a Cade do? Like, what is this position?
So they seem to like all do different things. It's just like this title that they have. I get into it a little more. Okay. With these other guys. Alright. So soon after Thomas Brun left, Ahmed S. Sekeli became a Cade under the rule of William I. He was baptized a Christian under the name Peter, but he was born a Muslim to a Berberized Sicilian family on the coast of Tunisia. When the Muslims reconquered Roger I's kingdom of Africa in the Roman province of Africa, sorry, that is hard to read, Peter led 160 ships to raid the Muslim-held Balearic Islands in the western Mediterranean. Later on, he tried to relieve Mahdia in Tunisia with the same fleet, but ended up retreating back to Sicily. When William I died in 1166, his wife Margaret of Navarre became the regent for her son William II and promoted Peter. Unfortunately, he was despised by the royal family and eventually left, reassuming his birth name and practicing Islam. And around the same time as Ahmed S. Sekeli, aka Peter, there was another man named Cade Richard, who was Cade of Palermo during the later years of William I's reign and during Margaret of Navarre's regency. He was also the great chamberlain at the time of William I's death. Richard was actually an opponent of Peter's during the regency, and in 1168, Richard became part of a council that advised the regent. In 1171, Richard was sent by the regent's council to investigate royal property in Messina, which was the third largest city in Sicily. He continued to hold his post after the regency until his death. And then just to finish up, so like Cade is just like a title for like, I don't know, I guess it's kind of like part army official, part like diplomat. Okay. I don't know, something like that. So just to sum it up, in 1194, the Norman kingdom of Sicily fell to the house of Hohenstaufen, I guess, with Henry VI, Holy Roman Emperor, as king, and Constance, the daughter of Roger II, as queen. And because of this, there were no more Cades after that, because the Norman kingdom fell.
I see.
So it's kind of unique to that.
Interesting. Yeah, I'd never heard of that.
Yeah, me neither. But yeah, like now they're There are other people named Cade and, what's his name? I should have just mentioned it. Hang on. What?
Nothing.
I was going to talk about it, but it didn't really relate to this, so.
Mm.
Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the founder of Pakistan, was known as Cade Azam, which means great leader.
Oh, cool.
So I guess Cade just kind of means leader.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that. I don't know a lot about that time period, really.
No, me neither. I was interested in that.
Yeah.
I never heard of those people, so.
We've talked about, like, that Middle Ages kind of time period quite a bit on the podcast. Like, there's been at least a few instances where we've talked about that time period, and I think it's because neither of us knows it very well.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
But yeah, I didn't really know anything about the Norman Kingdom of Sicily.
Me neither. Yeah.
Question 4. It's science.
Okay.
What mineral composed of silicon and oxygen is it?
Quartz.
Can I finish my question? What mineral composed of silicon and oxygen in a continuous framework is the second most abundant mineral in Earth's continental crust?
Quartz.
Yes, it's quartz. Thank you for letting me finish. Anyway, quartz is composed of silicon and oxygen, like I said. It's a bunch of tetrahedra attached together. Each tetrahedron has a silicon atom surrounded evenly by oxygen atoms.
As you may recall from my game about polyhedra,
exactly.
A tetrahedron is 4 equilateral triangles making a pyramid, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
So every oxygen atom in quartz is shared by 2 tetrahedra, so the overall formula is SiO2.
Right.
You can figure out that math yourself.
Yes.
Okay. So, the word quartz comes from the Polish word kwardy, which comes from the Czech word for hard, which I'm not going to try and pronounce because it's spelled TVRDY.
TVRD. Wow. Okay.
Good luck.
Yeah.
I'm not even attempting that one.
Okay. Sheesh.
Yeah. Rock crystal is another name for the purest form of quartz and is part of a crystal system, which I'll explain in a minute. The ancient Greeks actually called quartz krystallos, which means icy cold, because some philosophers in ancient Greece thought it was super cold ice. It's not cold.
It's not cold, right.
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe they never actually felt it.
Would think they would have. Well, okay. Whatever.
I don't know. I don't know what went on back then.
Yeah.
So, now back to the crystal structures. The ideal crystal shape for quartz is a 6-sided prism with 6-sided pyramids at each end. Throw back to Justin's polyhedra episode.
Yep, that would be an irregular polyhedron.
Yeah. So usually in nature, the crystals are so intertwined with each other that you can only see part of the shape or one giant mass. Crystals form in what is called a bed, and they grow into what is called a void. For example, a quartz geode is formed when the void is spherical in shape and is lined by a bed of crystals that point inward. Make sense?
Yeah. What did you say before that about, like, you can only see part of it? Like, what does that mean?
Oh, it means that, like, the crystals are so intertwined with each other that, like, you can't really see, like, a crystal-y shape usually because they're so tight.
Oh, it just looks like a rock.
Exactly.
You can't really see the crystal structure. Okay.
Right.
That makes sense. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, anyway, there are many varieties of quartz, and they are categorized by their microstructures. Most of the category names come from their color, however. Some examples are amethyst, citrine, carnelian, rose quartz, agate, onyx, and tiger's eye. Tiger's eye actually has a quality called, I'll try to pronounce it, chatoyancy, which is a reflectance property that makes it look like a cat's eye, which is cool.
Yeah, I always liked those growing up.
Yeah.
Thought they were cool.
Yeah. I collected rocks as a kid.
I think every kid did at some point.
I wonder what happened to them. We probably threw them out.
Probably.
I had a lot. I like those ones that you, like, go to the museum and they're in the thing and you pick which ones you like.
I would always pick the tiger eyes. I always thought they were the coolest.
I want to say it's called like martensite or something, and it has it looks like gold and it looks like very sharp, like.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I'm not sure if it's martensite, but
I don't know.
It's cool looking. Anyway,
never took earth science.
Oh really?
No,
I did.
No, I skipped it.
Oh, we didn't have to. It was like my honors class in 8th grade while everybody else was taking something else.
I see.
Not all types of quartz have been found naturally and can only be produced synthetically. For example, carnelian is usually heat treated to get its darker color. Large, flawless single crystals of quartz can also be produced in an autoclave via the hydrothermal process. Okay. Not explaining that any further.
Yeah, fair enough.
In nature, quartz is commonly found in granite and other felsic igneous rocks. It is also commonly found in sedimentary rocks like sandstone and shale.
Mm-hmm.
Metamorphic rocks such as gneiss and quartzite also contain quartz. If you need a refresher on what those words mean, go back to episode 16 when I talked about rocks.
Yeah, you did a whole episode about rocks, and now you're doing another thing about rocks.
I don't know. I guess I like rocks. I don't know. I don't know. I think that's interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Are you ready? Wait, how many have you gotten? 2?
Yep.
Okay. I think you'll probably get the last 2.
Okay, we'll see.
Question 5. Arts and literature. Quasimodo is the bell ringer in the novel The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Yeah, I said that right.
Yes.
By what French romantic novelist?
Oh, I always mix them up.
Ooh.
I always mix them up. Okay.
I didn't get your French novelist, so we'll see how this goes.
I think it's Dumas.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
It's Victor Hugo.
Damn it, it is the other one. Every fucking time.
I got your French novelist wrong, too.
Yeah.
Guess you gotta brush up on them.
Yeah, okay.
Alright. So, Victor Marie Hugo was born on February 26, 1802, to Joseph Leopold Sigisbert Hugo and Sophie Trebuchet. His father was a free-thinking...
Wait, her last name was Trebuchet?
Yes, her last name was Trebuchet.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Alright, go on.
Maybe her ancestors were trebuchet operators or something.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
Smiths, and if you're Smith, your ancestors were Smiths. If you're Trebuchet, your ancestor were people who shot rocks at walls.
I don't know.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So his father was a free-thinking Republican who thought Napoleon was a hero, but his mother was a Catholic royalist. Joseph Leopold was a high-ranking officer in Napoleon's army. Meanwhile, Sophie's possible lover, General Victor Lahorie, was executed for plotting against Napoleon. Victor was their third son, and his brothers were named Abel Joseph Hugo and Eugene Hugo. Victor was born in Besançon, sure, it sounds good, in the eastern part of Franche-Comté in eastern France. In his early childhood, his family traveled a lot while his father was an officer in Napoleon's army, like I said.
Mm-hmm.
However, his mother didn't really like how much they were traveling and was also upset with her husband for not being Catholic, which I don't know how you could be upset with somebody for that, but she decided to temporarily separate from him and move back to Paris with her kids.
Mm-hmm.
And because Victor lived with her and not his father, much of his early work was related to the monarchy and to faith, which, basically she was sharing with her kids.
Yeah.
And later in his life, especially leading up to France's 1848 revolution, he rebelled and became more of a free-thinking Republican like his dad.
We just talked about the 1848 revolution last week, because Verne was in Paris during the revolution of 1848.
Yeah, I know. It's weird how two of these discussions are pretty intertwined, but not the same.
Interesting.
Yeah. So Victor fell in love with his childhood friend, Adele, we'll say Boucher, but his mom didn't like her, so they waited until after she died to get married. It seems like his mom wasn't exactly the nicest person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only respectful thing to do. Wait for the old bat to kick the bucket and then marry against her wishes.
I think she was kind of crazy. So, anyway, Victor and Adele's first child, Leopold, died in infancy, but they had 4 more children named Leopoldine, Charles, Francois Victor, and Adele. Leopoldine died at the age of 19 when her boat overturned in the Seine and she was drowned by the pull of her heavy skirts. And her new husband also died trying to save her. Horrible.
Jeez.
And, reasonably, Victor was devastated by this, and he wrote a lot of poems about his daughter and her death.
Wow.
Very sad.
Yeah.
So, after Napoleon III's coup d'etat in 1851, Hugo decided to live in exile. He lived in Brussels, then the Channel Islands in Jersey, and then in Guernsey.
Mm-hmm.
He stayed in Guernsey until Napoleon III fell from power in 1870 after he was defeated in the Franco-Prussian War. He moved back to Guernsey for a year after the siege of Paris, but then came back to France where he stayed for the rest of his life. In 1829, he published, I'll see if I can pronounce this, Le Dernier Jour d'un Condamné, which means the last day of a condemned man. This work influenced other writers such as Camus, Dickens, and Dostoevsky. Hugo became the figurehead of the Romantic literary movement with his plays Cromwell and Hernani. The Hunchback of Notre Dame was published in 1831 and is about Quasimodo and his guardian Frollo, who are both in love with the gypsy Esmeralda. And they're all dead by the end in Hugo's typical depressing fashion.
Right.
And finally, to end on note that makes me happy. I don't know.
Okay.
So, as you may know, Victor Hugo is most well known for writing Les Mis.
Mm-hmm.
In 1862, he published Les Miserables after 17 years of planning and writing, which is crazy.
Yeah.
His goal was for it to be about social misery and injustice, which I think he achieved. The publisher created a marketing campaign for it in which they issued press releases 6 months before the book was released and only initially published the first part of the novel, titled Fantine. Installments of the book would sell out in hours. However, many critics at the time did not like the novel, but obviously most people liked it as it became his most well-known work and has been adapted a million times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it was kind of like revolutionary, no pun intended, for the...
Very good.
Sorry. For the publishers to, like, release a book in parts and, like, have so much hype. Like, nowadays, like, you know, they have that for shows and
right.
TV shows and movies and stuff, but, like, that wasn't a thing they really did.
Interesting. Cool.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right.
All right, we'll see if I think you can catch up to me.
All right, hopefully. You thought I was going to get that one, too, and I should have. But...
Yeah. All right. You'll get this.
Okay.
Question 6. Sports and games. In what sport are goals scored when a large leather ball called a quaffle is thrown through one of the opponent's 3 hoops by a player called a chaser?
I'm just shaking my head. The listeners can't see it. But...
Why are you shaking your head? Why are you shaking your head?
Because it's a fictional sport, for one thing.
Debatable.
Mm.
You'll see in a minute.
Yes, I know people play it for real now.
Yes, it's real.
Sad people. It's Quidditch.
Yes, it's Quidditch. Also, the other day, there was a Jeopardy category all about Quidditch, and I was like, no!
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what, I'm not rewriting this, because this is, like, the perfect Q question. There are 2 Qs in the one question.
Yep.
Yeah. So, for anyone who has been living under a rock for the last 20 years, Quidditch is a sport played...
Take me with you.
Oh, shut up. Quidditch is the sport played in the Harry Potter books and films. Because of this, you may argue that this question should fall under the category of arts and literature or sounds and screens. However, this is now a sport played in real life by real people for some reason.
Sad people running around on brooms.
Shut up. I will talk about it more. But first I'll talk about the fictional
sport.
No,
I'm kidding. If you play Quidditch in your spare time, good for you. That's cool.
First
like
of all,
I said before.
It's cool. Second of all, stop being a Harry Potter hater. And third of all, there was an entire Jeopardy category about the rules of Quidditch this week.
And I didn't sweep it. I know.
And it's trivia relevant. And
it is.
I'm going to explain it to you.
I know. Like I said earlier, if you're totally perfect just the way you are, even if you play Quidditch, good for you. If you enjoy it, go for it.
Yes, and even if you like Harry Potter, because Harry Potter is great.
Lots of people like Harry Potter. I don't like them that much.
He's wrong. It's okay.
I don't think...
Agree to disagree.
We've had this conversation many, many times.
Tearing us apart. I'm just kidding.
I don't think those books are as good as everyone says they are, and I think the movies are terrible.
I think you're wrong.
All right.
Most of the books are good, and most of the movies are pretty good.
Okay.
The fictional sport from the books and films is played at Hogwarts and other magical schools, as well as professionally by adults. J.K. Rowling based the sport on the old lore of witches riding on broomsticks, and in the sport, all players are flying on broomsticks throughout the game. It is played on an oval field with 3 hoops of different heights on either end. Each team has 7 players, 3 chasers, 2 beaters, 1 keeper, and 1 seeker. There are 4 balls in play at all time, a quaffle, 2 bludgers, and a golden snitch. The chasers keep possession of the quaffle and try to score goals in the other team's hoops, each of which is worth 10 points. The keeper is basically the goalie and tries to prevent the other team from getting the quaffle through the hoops.
Right. Keeper is the term for a goallie in soccer in Europe.
Oh.
Yeah, they refer to them as keepers. So that's where that comes from.
Wow, it's so hard to read Harry Potter as an American. I think Ron was a keeper. I don't know. Anyway. The beater's job is to prevent their teammates from getting hit by bludgers, which are balls made of iron that fly around randomly trying to knock players off their brooms. This is the part where the sport gets kind of ridiculous. I feel like without the bludgers, it would be way more reasonable. But anyway, the last player...
Yeah, so this is a sport where you can be like flying 100 feet in the air and just get knocked down to your death by a flying cannonball.
Yeah, well, it happens to him.
What?
In, I think, Chamber of Secrets, like... someone enchants one of the bludgers to, like, go after him, like, more, you know, they fly randomly, but someone enchants one to, like, fly after Harry and actually knocks him off, which doesn't usually happen very often, and something about his arm turning to jello, and Gilderoy Lockhart has to fix it.
Okay.
Anyway, the last player is the Seeker, whose job it is to catch the golden snitch. The snitch is about the size of a walnut and flies around randomly. The game is ultimately won by the team with the most points at the end. Once the snitch is caught by the seeker, the game immediately ends and that team earns 150 points, usually guaranteeing the win. In the World Cup final in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, Victor Krum, the seeker for Bulgaria, catches the snitch, but the team is still 160 points back, so they lose by 10 points. In my opinion, this was kind of stupid. Why didn't he just wait to catch it until his team scored another goal?
Yeah.
Anyway, the only other way to end the game besides catching the snitch is by mutual consent of the team captains. Obviously, most captains would not want to do that since it's essentially forfeiting.
Mm-hmm.
In the first Harry Potter book, the Gryffindor Quidditch captain Oliver Wood says that he thinks the record for longest game is 3 months, and they had to put in substitutes so the players could take turns sleeping. Very silly. The real-life sport of Quidditch began in 2005 in Middlebury College in Vermont. The sport is co-ed, and there are still 7 players. The chasers are basically the same and try to shoot the quaffle through the goalposts. I guess it's like rugby, but you're trying to get it through a hoop.
Okay. Doesn't sound like rugby.
I mean, the ball is kind of like a...
Oh, is it? I thought it was like just a round ball, but...
I guess it is.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's just like a big round ball.
Okay. That's not rugby then.
Okay, sorry. It's not like rugby. It's like... I don't know what it's like. It's like throwing around a big round ball.
Yeah. Okay.
A goal is still worth 10 points. The beaters throw bludgers, basically dodgeballs, at their opponents, which takes them out of gameplay until they touch their own goalpost. Get it?
Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting way of adapting that.
Yeah. And there is also a seeker, which has to catch a snitch, but in this case, the snitch is attached to another player who runs around randomly. It's kind of like capture the flag. In this version, catching the snitch also ends the game, but its capture is only worth 30 points.
Well, that makes sense. It's
Yes.
less game breaking.
Right.
Yeah.
In 2007, the International Quidditch Association was formed to regulate the sport, which is still mostly played by college students. The sport is now played in over 25 countries, and in 2012 they had their first International Quidditch Association World Cup, which lined up with the Olympic torch passing through Oxford, UK for the Summer Olympics. In addition to the college teams, there is also a Quidditch Premier League, which consists of 17 teams from the UK, France, Belgium, the Netherlands, and Germany. But don't tell me that people aren't into this, because it's a big thing.
That's absurd. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, and there's the end of my courts discussion.
What?
I don't know what happened, and it wasn't that important anyway.
Oh, okay. If you want to record it, I could cut it back in.
It's not a big deal.
Alright.
It was just explaining that some of them have piezoelectric properties, and that's how the quartz clocks work.
Ah, okay.
It's not that important.
Alright.
Anyway, that's it about Quidditch.
Okay.
But even if it was just a fictional sport, couldn't it still count for sports and games?
Yeah.
Because, like, you can talk about a video game, you can talk about a board game, you can
Sure.
talk about any sport. So, I mean...
Well, but I mean, video
I think
games and
that's
board
fair.
games are actually played, whereas fictional sports are read about.
I know, I'm trying to think if there
Like, I
are
wouldn't do-
other fictional...
Like, if I was going to ask about the movie Rollerball, I would ask about
Thank
it in
you.
Sounds and Screen,
Okay.
not sports and games.
No, that makes sense. Alright, fine.
But, fair enough.
But also the difference is, like, Rollerball is one movie. This is, like, a whole thing.
Well, and no one plays Rollerball in the real world, because you
Right.
would get killed. So
No, I'm just saying, like, even if they didn't play it in real life, I feel like you could still consider it. I don't know.
It would fit better in a different category, except that there are people who play it, so.
And it had 2 Qs.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Okay, well, I have to go figure out what my next game is going to be, because it's not going to be what I thought it was going to be.
Sorry.
So, that's alright. I'll move some stuff around.
I also have to figure out what my next game is going to be, so we're even.
Yeah. Alright.
Alright, so thanks for listening. If you would like to reach out to us, we are at quizandhers at Gmail, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Please, like, subscribe. We are on all podcast platforms.
Yeah.
Leave
If you
us
use
a review.
if you use iTunes, please do leave us a review. It really does help a lot.
Yeah, we like to hear what you guys think. And I think that's it.
Yep.
Alright, we'll see you next week.
Alright, bye.
Bye. Later on, he tried to relieve? Is that the right word?
What?
Madhya. I don't know. Whatever, moving on.
What?